Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. So, today we have a super exciting episode planned for you today. So, it is the final episode in the authority series. So, we are going to be going over the mental authority for mental projectors and then the lunar authority for our reflectors. So, the first half is going to be our mental projectors, and it's very exciting. We have two guests coming on for our mental projector portion, and then we also have a guest for our lunar authority. And another thing that's going to make today's episode so exciting is we have our brand new co-host joining us, and let me introduce you to her. Da, 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 da. Woohoo! There she is.
Hello. Fun to be
Okay,
back.
so for those of you who were watching last week, you will know she was our guest, and then we're like, we need to have you on the team. And bam, we have a wonderful ego projector who is our co host. So, friend, are you excited for today?
I am very excited. It is fun to have been talking to you all week in preparation and then now getting going and everyone meeting up beforehand. It's like, ooh, flutter, all excited.
Amazing. All right, friend. So I am going to hand over the gauntlet to you and bring on our co-lecturer for today. So you and our co-lecturer, her name's Mary, and she and you will flop back and forth over the slides. So you can take turns and be like, I'll take the first one. I'm like, oh, I'll take the next one. And that's how you're gonna educate all the mental projectors, and it's going to be really good. And then after, I will have you pop off, and I will bring on our second mental projector to join Mary, and it's going to be a good time. So, without further ado, let's bring our friend. Da 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 da.
Hey.
Amazing. Okay, so I am going to share the slides and leave, and you can choose who wants to do which one first. Enjoy!
Beautiful. Hey, Moni.
Hello, nice to meet you, Mary.
Yeah, nice to meet you too.
Would you like to, how do you feel about starting off or would you prefer I start off?
Either way. I'm good either way.
Cool.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll start the first one and you go from there.
Sounds good.
Cool. So, mental authority overview. Truth comes from the entire body. Leading questions. Does this decision feel right? Decision time frame. After you have been able to process and find your clarity. How do you feel about that?
Yeah. It resonates. You can hear me, right?
Yes.
Oh, beautiful. Okay. Yeah, it resonates. I've been experimenting with this, and it's definitely, yeah, I feel like I've been able to make better decisions, or decisions that feel more aligned by experimenting with this. And I love that the time frame is after you've been able to process and find clarity, because it's definitely not like, oh hey, I'll know in an hour. Like, you can't really put a time frame on it. Yeah, it's more of a feeling.
Yeah, that's really interesting, especially with so many open centers and all the body centers being open. That's really interesting, learning how to process that for yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Because with the mental projector, it's, like you said, it's basically its throat and above are the only centers that can be, potentially defined. And of course, it's either all three or just the
Two out
mind,
of the three.
right? The
Yeah.
ajna and the crown. Yeah. So yeah, it's a lot of open centers. So more on mental authorities. So they are able to differentiate between their thinking mind and their sensing intuitive mind to master their their design efficiently or effectively. They possess a focused perspective on the outside world, leveraging their intuitive mind for personal decisions and their thinking mind for insightful perspectives. Intuition, stemming from the sensing mind, guides decisions without the need for logical explanations, contrasting with the rationality of the thinking mind. Decision making for individuals without defined centers below the throat involves assessing the environment's suitability and recognizing bodily responses. So, I'll just kind of like chime in right there really
Yes,
quick.
please.
So, yeah, I kind of touched on this a moment ago, right? But again, it's like throat and above are the only centers that are defined. And so, with a mental projector, like our minds are really, I feel like that's where our powerhouse is. It's, because it's where our definition is, right? So that's where we feel confident and more like dominant in regards to our ability to like think and process information. You know, pretty opinionated, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So the interesting thing though is we know that we're not supposed to like make decisions from our minds, right? We learn that in human design. And it's been, I feel like, been life changing for me to realize that I'm supposed to make the decision from my body. um, because like just having this awareness and then being able to actually experiment with it and try it out and realize that, because again, like the mental projector is going to have a fully open like body graph on down from the throat. So it's like all those open centers are, just going to be more, I want to say like sensitive, and it just,
Mm-hmm.
that's why it's so important for that like feel it in your body to make the decision. So it's just a really neat thing once you're able to like do that and really assess your environment and like, okay, does this environment feel right? Does it feel good? Does it not? And then like being able to follow that is just really key.
It's really, really interesting, like learning how to like process all that energy because it's so many open centers. It's like 6, even like possibly 7, depending on like how a mental projector is set up. So it's like so much sensitivity, and then like using that as like almost like feelers, like you said, in the environment of like, is this right? Is this mine?
Mhm.
Oh, that person's having a weird day, but it's not mine. And then to learn to process all of that through your body and then find your truth. I'm very fascinated and curious about that for you.
Yeah, it really is. And then on top of it, even like if I'm not in the right environment and I know it, then I can't even make the right decision. Like the right invitation isn't going to come. It's not going to be correct for me if I'm in the wrong environment to begin with. So that's just assessing whether you're in the right environment first and foremost is like super important.
That's really cool. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right, I'll continue with the points here. So next we have trusted advisors provide support for mental authority types without influencing decisions. Oh, yes. Okay.
Tell me
This
more.
is so important. Okay, sorry. I'm going to keep on
No,
interjecting.
please interrupt. I'm so excited that you got excited. I'm like, yes, teach me the things.
Yeah, so I found this out because I realized I love to hear myself talk, okay? Um, but it's not just because I like to hear myself. It's because I need to hear myself talk to figure out whether something's right for me. Like, because if you just like speak to yourself in your head, though obviously that's important, it's not the same as speaking to people in your circle that you trust. And so for mental projectors, part of our decision making process is super important that we have people that we can rely on, like that we can trust just to hear us out. And it's not that, like, so for me, I've got a handful of friends that I know, hey, can I talk to you, like talk through something with you? And of course they're like, yes, right? And I can either send them voice memos, um, or call them on the phone, or, if we can meet in person, even better, right? Um, because for the mental authority part of it is the environment and the people you're around, but it's also just being able to like hear yourself talk it through with that trusted person.
Mm-hmm.
Because for me, like as I've been testing this out, and I'll just throw this out there because we haven't talked about it, but I'm a mental projector, but I'm also 3/5. So I have to try things out and experiment with it. So I'm going to probably use a lot of language like that because it's just my process.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, but yeah, I have to talk it out because while I'm talking it out, that's when I'm going to get that feeling, and it's gonna come as a feeling and then as like a I know for me, like, oh, I know this is the right decision, or I know this isn't what I need to do. And like my friend may have said something, but most likely they probably didn't even give me any advice. They literally just were listening to me, and then I got the answer just by talking through it. So um yeah, if you're a mental projector, make sure you have close people in your life that you can trust, that feel good and right and correct for you, that you know you can just send a quick voice memo to or talk to, um, when you just need to talk something through when you're trying to make a decision.
That's really perfect. That's really, really great advice. Thank you for that. And just
Yeah.
giving words to, because oftentimes, you're studying human design and you're like checking out other people's authority and what's this like for them. And you just gave so much like a fuller picture of like the soundboarding authority of just like, you could just talk at your people and then how that like comes through your body and turns into like a definitive knowing. That's really, really cool.
Yeah. That's how it's channeled for me. And it's been interesting because when I first found out I was a mental projector and I was learning about the mental authority, I'm like, what is this? This makes no sense. Like my own self, my own authority didn't make sense to me, and it was actually really frustrating. Until I I found this clip from Raw and I listened to it enough times that all of a sudden it like clicked and it made sense. And then I started experimenting with it and I was like, oh, okay, this is how it works. Um, so yeah, I think that's part of the reason why I get so excited about it, especially when I bump into other mental projectors. Um, I just love to hear their experiences, and I love to talk it through with them because it's been a game changer for me. It's really easy in this like 3D world for us to think that we make decisions from our mind and get caught in this like um, I don't know, this like loop of anxiety inducing, like, oh, do I do this? Do I do this? And like human design just lays it nice and like simply out for us. Like, hey, just do it, just try it, and you'll see. So, yeah.
Very well said.
Thank you. The other uh, point here on mental authorities. So, prioritizing saying no to anything not fully aligned, conserving energy, and avoiding misaligned commitments. And I feel like this really goes for in different ways for pretty much any authority, but definitely like, yeah, it's important, especially as a projector, to make sure you're saying no to something that's not fully aligned. And then sensing what feels right, is especially when unable to justify logically, leads mental projectors towards decisions in harmony with their true path.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right. 6-step decision-making guide. Number 1, when a decision is first presented, gather all information and mentally process it. Number 2, after reviewing everything, change your physical environment. Number 3, in a new, comfortable environment, reconsider the decision. If you feel complete clarity in your body, you found your truth and it's time to act. 4, if you're uncertain, change your surroundings or consult a trusted friend to discuss your thoughts until clarity emerges. Keep using your 3 strategies: mentally analyzing, visiting favored environments, and talking it out. Number 5, if fear is hindering your understanding of your authority, allow yourself extra time to utilize your 3 tools. Finally, number 6, ultimately ask yourself if something feels right. If it does, you found alignment.
Yeah. Yeah. That sounds right. Definitely. I like how like clearly it's laid out here. I don't know that I've honestly ever seen anything lay out this clearly and concisely. So yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah, thanks. Moana does a really great job with the slides. And it's interesting, they like change your environment and reconsider. I've never heard that, I mean, with anyone, but like, with a mental projector, like that's a very interesting just an added step to kind of play with in order to find your clarity. Like, have you experimented with that, or how's your feelings on it?
Yeah, definitely. I think it just comes back to just a combination of like being in the right environment. I know I have a handful of places that are like my safe place that I love to go. For me, my room is one. I've got like my favorite local coffee shop that I go to all the time. Um, with like my favorite people. I definitely have a handful of places where it's like, okay, these environments feel really good to me. Um, and then same with people, and a lot of that just comes back to the fact that because mental projectors are so open, and we are so sensitive um, to our environment that depending on whom I'm around, right, I'm going to be picking up the energy from those other people, those other friends, and the environment and whatnot. And so I feel like it can just help give a more like it can just help provide that clarity, like a more clear picture in regards to, again, that like feeling in the body,
Mhm.
um, to really tune in and discover whether something feels correct and aligned or not.
That makes a lot of sense.
All right, so primary conditioning for mental authority: feeling indecisive or uncertain about decisions, sensitivity being perceived as a weakness, leading to a desire to conceal it, experiencing persistent pressure to overthink situations, belief in the necessity of striving hard and advancing up the corporate hierarchy for achievement, relying on others for solutions rather than trusting oneself, distrust and emotions that defy logical explanation, sense of detachment from one's body's intuitive guidance. Wow. Okay. Again, like this whole list is so good. So the okay, so the first one, feeling indecisive or uncertain about decisions. It's so interesting, like, to just see this one, and it just took me right back to like one of my own experiences. Um, so a few years ago, it's interesting because so for me, my definition is through the channel of structuring. So it's 4323, and so it's really important for me. I've found like a lot of power in being decisive and being able to say I know when I speak. Like it's really powerful and potent, and like um I don't know, there's not much like it. It's funny I just said I don't know, but because I
It
couldn't
was
think of
knowing and
it.
not knowing.
Yeah, it's knowing or not knowing. You're right. It's knowing or not knowing, and I couldn't think of another way what to compare it to, but it's just really potent for me. So a few years back, I used to say, I don't know, like all the time. It was a really common phrase in my language, to the point of even when I knew something, I would say, I don't know, as like a safety mechanism.
Hmm, hmm.
And I had to do some like inner work, and I had some experiences, that I went through to really shift out of that and to find my own like empowerment and that confidence to be able to be like, I know, and say that and speak from that place and like own some of that authority that like naturally, on certain things I'm going to have, right? I mean, we really all do. But like learning how to feel decisive and like trust myself, which I know is also on that list. It's been a huge part of my journey, and and I can't think of anything else that has quite compared to my deconditioning process as seeing myself grow by leaning into that like self trust and that knowing, um, which is just part of the process. And like the beautiful thing though with this list that I found with the conditioning is it's like, even though I feel like maybe initially in my mind I want to look at it as a not so good thing, without experiencing these things, I wouldn't be able to like have this journey of transformation and then being on the flip side of it, right?
Hmm.
Um, so it's like it's all necessary. It's all necessary in our process.
Yeah, it's like all the things, especially as a third line. I'm also a 3-5. So it's like all the things that we have to
Yeah.
bump into. It's just, it is our natural process of like, that is how we learn about the world. Like we're like toddlers just bumping into things. And it's like,
Mhm.
ah, cool. Now I know not to do it that way. And being able to like turn and shift it and then like needling into like, I'm going to find the best and perfect ways to do all the things because I bumped into every single way not to do it.
Right, right. And it's such a game changer shifting to that. Um, and I know we've talked a lot about like feeling things in the body, that last point, just about the sense of detachment from one's body and intuitive guidance. That's also been a big thing, learning how to actually be in my body. I didn't realize how much time I've spent like really feeling detached from my own body. And I've, as I've been going through this, like for me, my own like healing journey and deconditioning experience and all of it, learning tools to like really be grounded and like sit in my body to be able to feel everything has been a game changer too. So,
Yeah, I feel that like really, really deeply. It's like soul re-embodiment where it's like we come here
mhm.
and like we don't have that like blueprint of like how is it they go about life as me and like we try to live as other people and it makes a big mess of everything and it's like our soul, our spirit is just like, whoa, I don't know about all this. This is weird, and like we detach and like dissociate. And so like yeah, I definitely feel that really, really hard. And like going through the deconditioning and learning how to live as ourselves, it's like we can like actually allow our souls to re-embody and like feel safe and like make home here.
Right.
We know how to play the game and we know how to listen and take care of it.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, tips. Tips. When stuck in overthinking decisions, visualize a white line descending from your mind to your body to tap into your body's wisdom. Number two, minimize time spent in environments that feel wrong or uncomfortable, trusting they are out of alignment. Number three, explore enjoyable techniques for mental analysis, such as creating colorful lists, diagrams, or spreadsheets. And finally, establish two favorite home environments and three in each town and an hour away to gain fresh perspectives. That was really funny. That's very interesting to like really like, okay, you have your favorite places and now go somewhere else and then go somewhere else and then go somewhere else. So you don't get like caught up
Yeah,
into some other kind of directional energy that's maybe like pulling you away.
right. I'm interested. I need to try out some of these tips. Um, I haven't done the first one, though I have my own like visualization that I do. Um, I had this experience in a plant medicine ceremony where I had this really cool vision of like being in my mind and then walking down this like spiral staircase into my heart. And so
Oh.
sometimes I like, and I just picture like I'll just breathe really deep and imagine this like this process of like going into my heart and connecting there, and that usually helps settle me into my body. um yeah, and then just minimizing time spent in environments that don't feel correct, like that's 100%. I totally laughed and saw like my child come out in that third tip though, because I'm like, oh man, yeah, I love like, all the pens and the different colors and the, sticky notes and the fun journals and all that stuff. So I'm like, okay, this makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like how can I reformat the information to like understand the system of how they go together?
right. Um, and then the last one, it's so good. I know I was talking about some of my favorite environments earlier. And I'm like, oh man, I could probably add a couple to my list. I have a few. I've got like my favorite yoga studio, things like that. But um, yeah, I like the idea too of one being an hour away to like really get a fresh
Mm-hmm.
perspective.
Yeah, that's
So
really
I
cool.
think these are some awesome tips. Good habits. So, as a mental authority, starting your day with grounding exercises like yoga, intentional breathing, tapping, dancing, or chanting mantras. Yes. I um I recently found Kundalini yoga and have discovered how much I absolutely love it. I had heard about it and I'm like, I don't know what, like the first time I tried it, I was like, I don't know what the appeal to this is, But after I did it a few more times, I was like, oh, this is it. And I like found the right yoga studio and the right teacher, right? That just like feel really good. So yeah, definitely all of the above. Intentional breathing. I love tapping, like doing tapping. I'm
EFT
assuming this.
tapping.
Yeah. Okay. I was like, I think that's what this means because I do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, that's really powerful. Good stuff.
Yeah, I definitely do that to like just reconnect myself, right? Because it again with the open centers and everything, I think I know I at least have experienced that it can be easy if we're in the wrong environment or whatnot. Sometimes to just kind of become a little detached, so that helps with the connection. Another good habit, using sage or Palo Santo to cleanse your aura or home from unwanted energy. Yes, it makes such a difference. And again, just using those plants and being able to smell them too, inhale, maybe do some intentional breathing with them too. Again, it just really helps ground you. Affirming aloud your intention to case your mind and let go of worries. Repeat the mantra, I give myself time for clarity 3 times to cultivate patience. Show gratitude and enhance your connection with your home by placing offerings like crystals, incense, or flowers. And then regularly spend time outdoors to connect with nature and earth. Yeah, these are all really good ones.
Yeah. It makes sense a lot too with like the open identity to like create a really nice environment for yourself.
Yeah,
Make it
exactly. And that's
special.
what all this does. Yeah, definitely. Like, um, I've found crystals help. I have different ones, and when I feel connected to one, maybe I'll carry it with me, that day, that sort of thing.
Hmm.
Um, and outside time is huge. I noticed such a difference. So, like for example, I'm still in the process of moving away from corporate America. I do currently still work like a corporate job. And so I notice that if I stay behind my desk too long, that's when I start to feel like I'm not human. But as
Hmm.
soon as I just take the time and excuse myself, go outside, go on a walk, like take that time that I need, it's a big shift. So that in and of itself is really impactful.
Yeah, that's really powerful. And just like, it's really cool to hear your experience and then like how you've come to learn to like process all this energy and how you find your decision making ability. And like, it's really, really neat. And all the ways like you help yourself to like, okay, how can I take care of me and my body and my environment and make that feel really good so I can best be able to process all the data that like you're taking in. I think that's really, really cool.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Definitely.
Thank you.
All right,
Hey.
Moni. Thank you for being. You killed it. Your first time, you crushed it. Everyone,
Yeah,
Thanks.
round of applause.
definitely.
Moni's
It
first
was
time.
so great talking with you, Moni.
Same to you. Yeah, I couldn't have done it without you. You're absolutely wonderful, Mary. So super fun. Thank you.
Amazing. Projector Sisters. Speaking of
Yay.
Projector Sisters, we're going to bring on our second mental authority guest. So let me go bring her.
Woo.
Moni, I bid you adieu.
Bye, loves.
Morgan!
Hey, Morgan.
Hello. Hi,
Uh,
ladies.
this is super exciting. So, Morgan, why don't you tell everybody how how familiar you might be or might not be with your design?
I mean, I've always been a seeker, so I'm always in, whatever's kind of new and happening, I'm digging into it a little bit. So I was in a group and, human design came out. All right, let me see what this is about. So I did my body chart and I started to get into it a little bit. So I haven't had a reading or any real education on it, but I am once I figured out I was a mental projector and that I needed to wait for the invitation. And that was my strategy. It was like, oh, yes, this is exactly me. And it gave me so much permission to just, wait, just back it up. So I know very little, but I know top line things. And I have no definition from here down.
Right. So, wait, is your throat undefined? Wow.
These two.
Yeah, open throat. Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say Mary. how long have you been in your experiment? I don't think we ever actually answered that question.
2 years. It's only been like 2 years, a little over 2 years. Yeah.
And like, how deep did you like go down the
Oh,
rabbit hole?
I've been deep. I've been deep. I mean, I chat with Danny quite regularly, and he is kind enough to entertain my questions. Danny, I have a question. um, but then also I've reread Ra's book. I can't tell you how many times I've read Karen Curry Parker's book. I don't know how many times. I've taken a full-fledged course from another human design expert out in the field. So like I've spent a lot of hours. I don't know how many hours, hundreds and hundreds of hours on this stuff. So yeah.
She deep in the weeds. So what would be like, I guess your biggest, like, Morgan already shared her like moments
Yeah.
when she went into it. So for like Mary, what would be like your top 3 when you started like digging through the weeds and you're like,
Like for me that like impacted me the most that I felt like I needed to know. Definitely the invitation part. I would love to tell you a funny story if you want to hear
yes,
it.
we're all about funny stories, please.
So I had this realization, okay? This is before I found out about my human design, but like to just paint a picture of a projector doing the absolute opposite of what they should do. I have a good friend who is a manifester, okay? But before we were friends, way back when, we were at this activity, like an organized activity with other like people our age. And part of it was we had this like sheet of paper with like 23 different things or whatnot. And you were supposed to find someone that did one of those things that might be like, I went to Disneyland, I was on football, whatever. You're supposed to go up to people and be like, hey, can you sign one of these items on my list? And they would. One of them was go find someone that you want to ask out on a date. And of all the people in the room, my projector self walks up to a manifester and says, hey, can you sign your name here next to this one? And he looked at me like I was, I don't know, a ghost. And he like signed it and then for months awkwardly like avoided me at other things because we had mutual friends.
Oh, brutal.
And I would like try to casually, like we'd be at like maybe went to the same game night. And oh my gosh, so just funny story, but like this is one of those things that when I learned about being a projector and waiting for the invitation, I'm like, oh wow, yeah, I know what that feels like now because I know the opposite when I've initiated. It does not go well, okay? Eventually we actually did become friends, but of course it was because he initiated the friendship at that point, right? Later on down the road. And we laugh about it to this day, so it's awesome. But yeah, projectors wait for the invitation is it's true.
That is really quite funny. I was gonna say, my brain is not quite working. Yes. Morgan, do you have any funny stories like that when it comes to like the invitation?
Oh my
bit?
God, the almost exact same thing just happened to me a couple of months ago. I mean, well, I know better. I mean, that's the truth, right? Like I figured out that I cannot initiate any dating situation at all. Like I have to 100% wait. And I had this friend that I've known forever. And all of a sudden he started like calling me when he was in town and starting to do, and it's like touching my leg. And I was like, he's flirting. I'm pretty sure he's flirting with me. And then he said something like, I don't know, something on social that it was like, you're beautiful, whatever. It was some sort of compliment. And I'm like, I think he's flirting with me. So I asked him, he was like, oh, I'm so sorry. No, I'm sorry. I gave you the wrong impression. And I was just like, oh my God. I was mortified. I mean, totally mortified. Anyway, very similar. So
Yeah, yeah, but it's like through experiences like that, that's what, again, I mean, the 3-5 in me, I just keep on saying that, but it's true. But through experimenting with our human design, it's like this is what really solidifies it. Like, oh yeah, because I've had this experience, I know what this feels like.
Yeah.
And when I do the opposite, right, and I wait, wow, am I well received if I wait for that invitation, right? Like it's huge.
Yeah, why don't we
Um,
do the flip side? I'm like, Morgan, where was the time where you got the invitation and everything was like, ah?
Well, that's the other thing about this invitation thing. You don't have to accept it. And that's also liberating, right? As that's even though it is the strategy, you need to get the invitation and then decide if it's something that feels right to you. And then you move toward it. And if it doesn't feel right to you, you don't. And that's also been like, okay, I have permission to not go everywhere I'm invited. I mean, I have a mantra that people will say, "Do you want to do something?" I go wherever I'm invited. I've said that for years, and it's kind of true. I don't get invited a lot of places, but I go when I'm invited. And then recently I realized, you know what? I don't feel like going to that. I don't think I can, and I won't.
Nice. I was going to say, Mary, why don't you share some of the stuff you, I guess, really was like, oh my God, with your authority, like being a mental projector, right? Because, you guys are not just any like projector, not that projectors are not special, but, like emotional projectors are completely different than how you two are wired. So what would be some like advice you'd give Morgan? Like, let me help you unlock the powers of our mind.
right. Yeah. Like I guess I'll just share what I was going to ask for more specifics, but I'll just share what comes to mind. So, I mean, I'm sure you heard all the good stuff we were saying earlier, but
Yeah.
I would just say like one of the biggest things is definitely I've come to like just really enjoy the I guess the intellectual side of my mind and just have fun with it. And whatever the weird thing is that I'm interested in, I just let myself feed it. If it's for me more so recently, right? It's like human design. And then even with the eclipse recently, I was like just geeking out over everything, right? And so I just let myself enjoy it. And, if I want to spend like hours reading and researching and watching YouTubes, like I just do it and I enjoy it. And then, occasionally, like the cool thing is my friends know that I'm into this stuff. And then the best thing is when they invite me and go, hey, can you share with me like what's going on, like with this eclipse or this like Mercury retrograde? Or I'm like, okay, let's sit down. Like I got you. Like we got this, you know? Um, so yeah, I would just say to like really enjoy that. And then even to just really like trust yourself. That was one of the things that came up too on that slide. I have found like how empowering it is to realize that I like on the things that I know I am an authority and to actually own that, because I feel like growing up I was very much conditioned to just follow authority in general, right?
Hmm.
Like teachers, parents, I mean we really all are, but I feel like especially for me, like just due to that like extra sensitivity of being a mental projector and having all these open centers, I just most of the time would question myself and doubt myself and always ask for somebody to double check my work. Like, did I do this right? And then again, as a 3-5, right? And like having that line 3 and making mistakes, I constantly doubted myself and had to ask for reassurance and validation all the time. And to like go through this process of deconditioning and overcoming that and getting to the point. And of course, I'm not perfect. I still sometimes ask for stuff, right? Because I'm human, but I'm way more confident in myself and what I know now. And like trusting myself, and it's just a game changer. So embracing that journey and leaning into the things that you like love and that light you up, that feel good, right? Like going back to like the decision making process of being a mental authority and like following what feels good. Um, yeah, that's what I got for you.
I mean, the good news is that is who I am anyway. Like, really, I do all of the things on your list. I'm like, yep, check, 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 check. But it's also because I'm older and wiser. I probably didn't do all of this when I was younger, but there is that validation. I think that's what's cool about human design is when it reflects back at you you're like, oh yeah, dude, that's why I do that. That makes all the sense.
Mm-hmm.
Makes all the sense. Good. I don't have
Yeah.
I don't have to have any doubt. I mean, not that I don't that much, but
I was gonna say, Morgan, was there anything in the slides or anything Mary said that you're like, oh, that is something I didn't look into or I didn't experience? Maybe I should try that.
yeah, I mean, I like this idea of switching up your environment. I do naturally hermit because that is I'm the 5'2", right? So I didn't really know a lot about that before tonight. So okay, thank you for that. But I did know that the hermit was in there somewhere, right? And I am. I will spend. I live here alone. My daughter moved out, but whatever. And I'm like, woohoo, in bed, happy as a clam in bed by myself in this house. And but I do love to travel. I need to change my environment a lot. I'm like a shark in the water. If I don't see new stuff, feel new stuff, have input, if I'm not sensing things in the outside world, I go a little crazy. So
Like the
I travel.
stimulus.
Oh my God, I need it.
Oh, I feel that. It's probably why I hate The Office so much.
Well, it's the same, right? It's just the same.
Oh, this brings me to a fun question. Mary, if you're willing to divulge, and same thing with you, Mary, I want you to think of what is your favorite environment? Where it is like that go-to place where you go, you're like, oh, okay, and don't say your house. That's too easy.
Okay.
Sorry,
Okay.
vetoing that answer right off the bat. You can't
Here's
say
the
your
thing
house.
though. I'm caves environment, okay? So my bedroom is my cave.
Yeah.
So, okay, here's a weird one. Sometimes the restroom, honestly, like bathroom, it's the only place when I work in a corporate office that I can get alone time, okay? And it feels like a cave. There's one door in, one door out. No one's gonna bug me. It's dark.
Okay, touche,
Okay.
Morgan.
Well, Paris, I mean, hello, there's nothing like Paris. And a bathroom in Paris? I don't know.
Yes. Yes.
Le toilette?
Uh,
Oh,
oh
that's
man.
too funny. You reminded me. Okay, I have not been to Paris, but I have been to the France area of Epcot at Disney World. For anyone who's like, I don't have a passport, closest thing you could
Does
do.
it count? Vegas? I don't know.
I don't know. I've not been to Vegas either. I've gone to
No,
like
me
30
neither.
plus countries. So
So-
I'm like, Europe is usually the last on my list. But
Oh, that's so interesting.
anywho,
Oh my
yeah,
God, love it. Love it,
I'm
love
like
it, love it.
completely unrelated. So there's a thing that you do. Sorry, I'm like making this about me, but this is a funny story. One of the things you have to do if you do Epcot is drink around the world if you're into drinking. So I got myself a little passport and I'm like writing down each drink I got in every country. Oh, it's a good time. So as you're like getting tipsy, like going through like China and Japan, like and like snacking your way through all the countries, I noticed that Italy had the nicest bathrooms. Like if I compared like Italy's bathrooms to like Norway, I'm like, oh yeah, look at these like fancy marble and like this gold accents.
Yeah.
I don't think I checked Paris's bathroom. I just did think the people serving out the patisseries were like incredibly snooty because they do get people from the countries working in the pavilion. So it really does kind of feel like you're there.
Right? Sure.
Because they're speaking
It's
in the
Disney.
accents.
Mhm.
They're working with people from the same place. The only exception to this is Morocco. In Morocco, they can't get anyone from Morocco, so it's just a weird mishmash of other countries.
Okay.
Hot tip if you ever end up in
Okay.
Okay.
Epcot.
Epcot.
Not that you needed to know. But anyways, what was I going to say? What are some other things, Morgan, that you were like, oh, this is what makes me different?
I mean, I think a super helpful thing is the having trusted others that you can talk at so that you can hear yourself speak in order so that you can get clarity. I'm super verbal, so I talk a lot, but I don't like to talk at people. Typically, I'm listening also, and it's a circular thing. But when I need to iron something out, I don't want anyone to give me feedback or give me advice. I'm like, so I have two friends that I say, okay, you're in listening mode right now. I got to hear myself so I can see what's next. You know, I have big decisions to make and I need to
Mhm.
I hear it come out of my mouth. So
That's so fascinating. I was gonna ask Mary this because I was like, maybe Mary knows this because I don't. What would because when I'm like making the slides, I'm learning this stuff myself. Like
great. They were
I'm
awesome, by the way.
yeah,
Very helpful, super practical.
thank you. I
Email
like
those to me,
use
would you?
several books to like put them together. Um, but what was I saying? How would I guess a mental authority sounding board thing be different than like a self-projected projector? Because they also need to talk stuff out.
Right. I think the difference lies in the environment aspect
Mm,
because again with the mental projector has that open G center personality center, and so I think that's just huge, like right off the bat, having that open. And like if they're in the wrong environment, then no matter what it is, it's going to be the wrong decision, the wrong thing. If we're talking to the wrong person, we're not going to be able to get clarity. Like I know I found out, for example, um, I have a family member that I in the past have tried to talk to things about, but the issue is I feel like on top of a couple things, I feel like with my line 5, maybe this comes into play too, but like if they would want to offer advice, not just listen to me. And then
mm,
if I didn't take their advice, they felt offended and they would get irritated at me, right?
Right.
And so like that's one of those things where it's like, ooh, this isn't the right environment, this isn't the right person. Like that's huge. So I feel like it just comes back to the environment aspect and that being like a big thing about it. Um, and then and then just picking up on the different like energy of who you're around. You know what I mean? Because depending on who you're around, you're going to make different connections.
mm.
In your body graph and
Yeah,
you
so
know,
it's more layered. It's not just talk it out and it'll come to you.
right?
Which is
Because
what it felt like for self-projectors. You can correct me if I'm wrong.
I know I'm not a self-projected projector, but I feel like if I'm not mistaken, can't they kind of just talk things out even solo where it's like
Yeah, they
for
could talk to a tape recorder. They
yeah,
could
and
and
for
listen to themselves.
right, and for a mental projector it's like we actually need the different environments and other people to like
Mm,
bounce things off
Yeah.
of to really get that like again that feeling in our body where all of a sudden it's like okay, yeah, this is it.
Yeah.
So
Speaking of environment, you guys just like rolled me along into the next section of our show.
ooh, beautiful.
But unless
Excellent.
you have any closing statements, ladies, I want to hear it before bringing on our third and final guest of the night. Any closing statements for all the mental projectors watching out there? You guys are a rare bunch. Any
There's
words of wisdom that you want to
there's
impart?
one thing, and I forget what you even call it, but it's like what you have to be concerned about. And for me, I don't know if it's all mental projectors, but mine is bitterness.
Oh,
Oh
that's
yeah,
all projectors.
it's all
That's
Okay.
your not self.
And so that not self thing I think is super important to touch upon because it is something that I have to watch, especially as someone who has to wait for an invitation. A lot of times that gap between getting to be seen, right? You have to be seen and recognized, and someone has to ask you for your guidance. I'm a leader as we are, right? That's what I've done for 25 years. I'm a director. So, but I have to be hired to be in the authority position like that. And then people do listen to me because they have to, right? But there's an invitation there.
yeah.
But there's been plenty of time where I didn't get invited to various things and I'd start to be bitter about
Mm,
that because I didn't trust that this isn't for me, that this is a good thing. It was a saving grace for not getting that job or the thing that you wanted, I guess, or you thought you wanted. So that is something that's been helpful for me. It's just like, okay, check the bitterness. You don't want to be bitter. You're lucky. You've got all kinds of good stuff going on. Don't need to be bitter.
that's so good. And Mary, any last words of wisdom?
Ooh. I don't think so. I feel like I've shared what I needed to share. I've said what I
You
needed
were
to
a
say.
superstar. Like, hand for Morgan, hand for Mary. Again, this is the first time we've had two guests come on at the same time. You guys were absolute champs. I am
It's
eternally
fun.
grateful that you
It's
came
been
on.
super fun.
Yeah.
Super fun. Thank you
Yay!
so much.
I'm sure no one's doing it in this format. So I'm like, oh, this is a crazy
Round
experiment. Let's see
table.
how it goes. But
I
yeah,
think it was very successful. And I'm amazed that we
amazing.
did all that in an hour, to be honest.
That's why I'm like watching the
Yeah,
time. I'm like,
you're on time.
we're hopefully not, making the second half of the show fall asleep at their desks. They're like, when is it my turn? But anyhow, I
Right
am going
now.
to bid you lovely ladies adieu.
Yes.
Au revoir.
Thanks again. Take
Bye.
care. Whoop. All right. And hello, Danny. You
Hey,
are
I'm
live.
right here. Can you hear me?
You
Sorry,
are live.
I'm trying to. We are live. The dog just came in. That's why.
Oh, no problem. So, Danny,
It's
I
all
am
good.
going to, what's the word I'm looking for? Make you the host now. I'm going to pop off. So, enjoy handling this portion of the stream yourself. This is the first time you get to do this solo. So,
This is the very first time. I was just sending Miss Mary a quick message. That's all. And
yeah, so
yeah,
enjoy. And then
I think-
when you get to the end of these slides, we are going to bring on our very special reflector guest. So, I am bidding you
Cool.
adieu.
all right. So the slides, just referring to the reflector. These lunar beings, they're special. They're only 1% of the population. Their truth, as in for all of us, comes right from our body. Just literally, it comes from within always. It's never a mental construct. We can't think what is true. And the reflector embodies that, while they see it all the time in the others. So they get it from both ends. Leading questions would be, does this decision feel right? Again, Open G Center, am I in the right place? Leading questions, is there something healthy or unhealthy here within they? And another incredible leading question is this existential question, which is, who are they? Who are the people? Who's this? What's my milieu is what they're after. And this decision frame, well, it takes on two different things. There's all humans can decide in the now, period. That's just the thing. It's just that the bigger the decision, the more it takes a full 28 and a half days. That's approximately the time it takes the moon to circle planet Earth. So this waiting time for a long time, a little time, almost no time is something that the reflector has to feel out for themselves, because they'll find, again, their truth as not a mental construct, but more a feeling inside the body that feels good is going to take the time that it takes. More on lunar authorities. I'm not going to be able to read this because my eyes don't see that well, but more on this lunar authority is this intuition for reflection. I can't read this. Actually, it's too big. There you go. It's too small, I meant. So thank you, Moana. Good call. She's so good. And I'm so lucky. Intuition for reflecting. It originates externally. It originates from everywhere, from presenting clear choices at the right time. And what it does is you can tell with this lunar authority, as it goes to this intuition for reflectors, this inner authority of theirs, and it is an inner authority. Every type has an inner authority, even though it's called an outer authority, for those people who know what I'm talking about. But this inner authority for the lunar being is really the type of inner authority that it just has to mature, is all I can really say. I'm trying to read these slides, but may impulsively seek immediate answers due to conditioning, hindering their ability to receive intuitive guidance. Their design mandates that decisions unfold rather than being made based on present emotions or circumstances. Really and truly, this inner authority for them comes from the fact that their body graph is completely open. And so what happens is this inner authority can't be it can't be physically decided upon until you've gone through enough time where various gates in your body graph are being attached on the other side, getting their polarity on the other side, defining a whole channel. So what every lunar being needs to do to truly understand their authority is witness which gates activate a whole channel at the end of another gate that's activated in your body graph. So it's ever in your body graph now, there are gates that will come along through the transits of the moon that will activate them and create a channel. And those keep changing your inner authority as it relates to temporarily. But your whole inner authority is the sense of knowing that this motion is going on. And then with that, the body still gives the decision. All types have the same thing going on. They all have, it feels good or it doesn't feel good. And I hearken back to the kid, the 5-year-old, the 4-year-old inside of us, and an axiom, a rule in human design. It's a law, really, that the kid is always right as it relates to what's correct for you. Doesn't mean you can always do it, but the kid is always right. And so you have to learn to get in touch with what would my younger self have done, and you know what your younger self did. You'll see as you start to pay attention to these transits. So this more on the lunar authority is you already love the moon. I've never met a reflector that doesn't watch the moon, watch the gates. It is literally activating in your body graph and witness at each channel that then gets turned on, because all of your activations will become a channel, every single one in your body graph. Keep that in mind. Witness how it feels over each lunar cycle. And then in the now, are you surprised? Are you not surprised? So this is the strategy that helps you get in touch with this inner authority. This sense of surprise for the lunar being is, it's a deep thing. The sense of surprise is something that should feel really warm and good. It's not just someone surprised me with, my favorite drink. My coffee was just right. That's a nice surprise. I'm talking about all the way up to this is an amazingly feels good, life-changing, wonderful surprise. That's what feels good to the lunar being. And the disappointment on the other side is something to look out for, because just like our last guest was saying, it's so wise of her to bring this up. Her strategy about the bitterness for the projector, that's one thing. And then on the lunar being, it's disappointment. As you start to sense disappointment, literally look around. Your environment isn't right. You are not in the right place. Your decision making is not working very good. It's leading to the frustrations and the not self themes of all 4 types, one way or another. The anger, the frustration, the being, not liking it, the bitterness, the disappointment is sort of a culmination of all those, because part of what this inner authority is leading you to, if you're a lunar being, is to witnessing what's healthy in the rest of humanity. So this is the inner authority, and it's very nuanced. You have to talk to them to understand it. Next slide. Moana, move to the more on. Oh, here we go. Yeah. The 7 steps during decision making. I should have read these beforehand. Upon receiving the decisions, note the current moon phase and give yourself 28 days until the next one. This is what I was mentioning before. So as soon as there's a moment for decision making, and it's anything bigger than what you can decide right now, please capture the gate. Go online, just look it up, put in a body graph Just Now chart on our website, and it'll show you what gates are attached on the other side. Make a note of that, and then start to wait. You may not need to wait the whole 28 days, but 28 and a half, but you'll start to find out that plenty of times it feels good too, because lunar beings love a broad swath of time to have the option to wait it out or not. In other words, if a lunar being said, hey, if someone told them, hey, there's no such thing as a calendar, but everything's still going to go fine, they would love that. Take away the clocks and the watches, and that might be pretty cool too. Every day during this 28 period, the note here says to reflect on the identity and the feeling, and to look inward regarding the decisions and observing without the pressure of judgment. Yeah, this is taking the pressure off. So no clocks, no time, no calendar. If you experience clear certainty and inner knowing by the end of the 28 days, or I would add anywhere along the way, when the moon does return, it is time to act. And if you receive it and understand it before the moon returns, definitely act, and then make a note of when that 28 days would have been up from when you first started. If clarity eludes you, consider it a no for now and allow another 28 days. This is something big. When this happens and you can't get to anything, you're going to have a big surrender to make, because the truth is humanity is conditioned by generators. We're in a generated world and everyone wants to go, go, go and feel the sense of now. If you put the world together, we're an emotional manifesting generator. If you move into any room, we're an emotional manifesting generator. And if you're around any more than 3 or 4 people, that's an emotional manifesting generator. So keep that in mind. Take the time it takes, surrender into that moment. Regularly assess your feelings and observe how they influence your decisions. Yes, and your feelings and your sensations. So feelings to me is a little bit also emotional. Sensations are not just the sensations in your body. There's millions of them, and there's thousands of them that you know. It doesn't matter what they are. What matters is that you're witnessing this. Regularly assess the feelings and observe how they influence your decision. That's sort of a journaling item, and that this is very much, I would talk this through with any one reflector at the time to find out what they will and won't do just to witness this take place. Remember, for the reflector, it's all about witnessing. You have a very special aura we'll get into in a moment. If any kind of fear hinders you, your sense or your authority or inside, allow yourself extra time. That's sort of obvious. Ultimately, you're asking yourself, does this feel right? Do I feel pleasantly surprised? Do I feel good? And if the answer is yes, obviously move on. Primary conditioning is pressure to rush, absolutely. The fear of trusting yourself, and I would add the fear of trusting others, because your question is, you got a genetic question in you that says, who are you? I mean, literally. Who are they? And what's my arena look like? And what's going on here, including who are they? Fear that taking time will lead to stagnation or falling behind. All of that is true. Anxiety over acknowledging these fluctuating feelings towards decisions. Yeah, it's called emotional nervousness and mental nervousness. The pressure centers pressure our awareness centers to get nervous and fearful. This is something to surrender to, by the way, when we get to it. Reliance on others, such as patterns or family, to make decisions. By the way, you're supposed to rely on others. Throughout this 28 days, you're going to talk to lots of people. And what will happen is the kindest feeling coming in on you as you talk to people is going to be the most helpful to you. It's just always sort of that way. And it doesn't mean you do what they say. You're going to talk to lots of people. Don't forget, with this question burning inside of you of who are they? Who's in my group? Do I like it? This is your question. And with that being the case, this anxiety over what others might think and do, that's one thing, but allowing them in to basically bounce things off of all the time is really good too. Desire to conceal the sensitivity or appear a certain way that you're not. Well, this is open ego conditioning. It's there all the time. It's in everyone with an open ego. And it's everything else too, but it starts there. So tips for you. When overthinking decisions, visualize this white light just visualize what is it that's coming in and allow yourself time to almost meditate on it. What I call it is just sort of going into a daydreaming process where you're not thinking about anything. Allow yourself time to check out and bring in a sensation like a white light, like a memory, like something that you dig, to just muse on, M-U-S-E. Look that up if you don't know what it means. Establishing journaling routine is always going to be good. Jotting it down on a piece of paper, recorded notes are handy. Using a moon calendar, you have to make a moon calendar for yourself. This is more than just a tip. It's something you just want to do, and you're going to love it when you see it. Good habits to get into, establishing that routine, using the moon to go through things. This is good enough for tips. This other good tips are waiting for your friends to go ahead and be part of your group and keep seeing that you like it. These are good habits. Is vetting your friends, establishing this cleansing ritual. Moana writes down here of being around many people. Yeah, walk out into society a lot and then walk back away. Don't interact with anybody. This is a good habit. Walk through. Contacting the friends that feel good each day. Make sure you say hi. And watching when you're surprised versus when you're disappointed. And the surprise is all the way up to an amazingly feeling good. And the disappointment is all the way down into depression and feeling so disappointed that everything sucks. These are journal those moments. Because as you start to see them, seeing it aligns it all and makes it all fix itself. So the kid is always right, and seeing it puts it in alignment. Who's our guest tonight, Moana? I don't think I've even looked at a chart.
Yes, we have not looked at her chart.
I'm never
But I
reading
will.
slides again. I need different tips. I'll make them for myself. That's not your fault. That's mine.
Well, we have our lovely guest on here. So Sarah is our reflector.
Sarah.
Welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Moana, I don't think I've seen this chart yet. Have you texted it to me or sent it to me?
I have not done the chart, so we're just
Cynthia,
going to
send it
have
right
a
now.
lovely. Yes, I was going to say, Sarah.
Sarah.
Yes.
We were not planning on doing a chart reading, but
No.
Danny wants one. So,
Okay.
if you could, just quickly message me your details, how we've been contacting each other.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I can
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah,
I was going to say, just
And-
tell it to me, but we're live, and you
No,
probably
no.
publish
Let's
that.
not do that. And in the
I-
meantime, Danny, you can think of some lovely questions to ask Sarah in the time that I'm doing some back end things. So, see
One
you later,
moment.
everyone.
Hey, take it easy, Alex. Thank you for everything. Appreciate you, bud. I'll call you. Oh, this is awesome, Sarah. So you've been a reflector the whole time.
Yes.
When did you first find out about this?
So I actually had my best friend, she actually got me into this back when I was like 17, 18. I'm 34 now. So I've known about this for a long time. I haven't done like any of the deep dives like, Mary was talking about, which I'm like, I should really probably do this. But I have always been like a big seeker of who I am, what I'm about, because life has always been really, really difficult for me. I'm a 2-4. So
Yeah, me too.
Are you?
Yeah. We don't want to hear it half the time. We just don't want. It's like just leave us alone. Have you noticed?
Right. Yeah, like my hermit side is very, very
Deep.
intense.
Yeah.
Like
both.
I am definitely like almost a 90% hermitized and 10%
Right.
people person.
Right.
So it was kind of like
Normal.
very validating in so many ways to read about this kind of stuff and learn and be like, hey, you know what? I'm not psycho. I'm not weird. Like all these people are just like, why are you so blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, there's a reason. Like I'm just built differently than you.
Right.
So I don't even know any other reflectors in my personal life. I've never met anybody. So
I went a while without ever even reading for a reflector. Sometimes I would go, almost a year in between. It was amazing. And the thing is, this 2-4 profile of ours is just so important. By the way, Moana, thank you for looking up that chart. I thought I had it, and so I had a moment of frustration. That was me. I'm hitting Moana because I was like, I need that chart. It helps me, Sarah. I just
no, you're good. And I just sent all of that information to her on Messenger. So.
Oh, much appreciated. So this 2-4 of ours, it's just so critical because really and truly, when I hermit, I know what it is. Nothing's lighting me up, and that's true for all of us. But there's something else about my frustration and my sacral motor. When you hermit, it is literally, I'm not in the right place. I'm not with the right people. Society is not healthy enough for all of me. And so I have to go out in dribs and drabs, just like you would, if, you know, if you're around a bunch of smoky area or whatever, because you got fires, you don't want to keep walking into it. You can only go in there a little bit. You know what I mean? Hey, come on in. We need help. Go in for a few, come back out. And so the world is smoky and hazy, and it's not always, you guys are the recipients of that. If I'm not mistaken, Michael Jackson was a reflector. And
I think you're right.
yeah,
I saw that name.
look at his look at what he did to himself. His environment was like, and he didn't track, I don't know, I doubt he tracked the moon, but and see that there's these changing lines that keep happening in your body graph. But it means it's not healthy out there. And so you probably have yourself a couple of besties, and that's about it, right?
Yeah.
So if you're a reflector, sometimes you're invited, and it's exactly right, and that's a surprise. If you're a reflector, sometimes you're impulsively generating an awareness and a thing, and that's healthy, and that's a surprise, a healthy one. And sometimes you're emotionally waiting on something. I'm going through the fact that you're always defined different ways. To get you back to this anchoring thing. Us generators, we can practice our strategy right away. You know what I mean? Oh, I like it. I don't like it. My energy's here. It stopped. It came. It stopped. You know, it's like wagging a dog. It's annoying at times, but it's great. I learned I love me the way I am. I'm perfect, and you are too. And so, what have you noticed out there that pulls you out into the fourth line networking, this opportunist, because you want it? That fourth line sits in the background, always wants it.
Right? It's, I don't know, it's really weird for me because, like I said, I'm in such a weird secluded area, like where I live. Like there's just not a lot of things that speak to me as a human anyway.
Okay, all right.
But it's like having, like you said, it's kind of like having that invitation. Like I'm constantly waiting for it. Like I'm just waiting all the time, it feels like. And, you know, because society is so pressure driven and, you know, that constant gratification, everything's got to be moving 24/7. It's very exhausting for me as who I am, because it's like, I don't operate that way. And it's like you said, we live in a generator society. Like we live in a generator world. So to have that constant pressure all the time, I do find myself in that disappointment tumble a lot.
Humble. That's a good word. Yeah. Have you started to notice that that particular disappointment is also your cleansing and warning system?
Yes.
And so it sucks, okay, on one side, and on the other side, you started to at least recognize, at least since it sucks, it's serving me.
Yeah.
I know what not to do. You know what I mean? And it alleviates the open head stuff that will be, I need to know what to do, and I don't know what to do, and it bothers me. And so have you been able to now be kind to yourself enough to say, it doesn't matter. I don't like the disappointment, but at least it's not my fault. It's out there. It's not here. It's out there, because you guys are reflecting back the stuff. It's like a big job. In fact, it's a big job. What was that movie with the wind talkers? Do you remember this? It was a World War II movie, and there was a special battalion of just Native American, I forget what tribe. They had a language that no one could decode.
I think it was the Lakota.
Something. Yeah, and no one could. So the Germans couldn't decode it. So it was the Allies' Enigma machine that no one could decode. They just had a wind talker who would just talk to the other wind talker, and they knew what they were saying, and no one could decode them. It's like that. It's very much like that. This so few of you literally transmitting the message of where our position is, where we are, what's good, what's not good. That's what the wind talkers did. And theirs was drastic. They were saving lives or not, you know what I mean? Because they're at war. But this is your place. And I don't know how that feels to a reflector. I would love to know how that feels. Now, now I'm asking it, if there's any way you can even say.
Well, and I think I think it's, well, for me, I would say it is kind of difficult to know because being so much out on the outside, you do feel like an outsider. You don't really feel like you belong here, even though you know you're an integral part of it. But so overlooked in the sense that it's like I had so lost myself many, many times throughout my life, you know, and it's like the validation of coming back and being like, there really is nothing wrong with me. I operate the way I operate. This is right for me. I'm so tired of that outside pressure all the time. But it's like, if I can just get back into myself and be like, you know what? I know who I am. This is all your problem, not mine. You know, take it with you and let me do my job. That's when you really, well, for me specifically, that's when I start to feel like I'm belonging. When people are coming to me and reflecting off of me and I'm helping guide them, I'm, you know, seeing the full angle of everything that other people don't see. And then people be like, oh, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Right.
You know, so actually feeling like I can do my job, even though it's not really a job, I'm not getting paid for it, you know, like
Right.
it's validating. It's just, but it is weird because I feel like such an alien so much of the time that's another reason why, you know, the hermetization comes naturally to me, because it's just like,
Right.
I don't fit in with this. This is not my space. I'm going to wait it out. I'm going back in.
As it should be. Oh, this is your chart on the screen.
Alrighty.
Oh, look at that. Who sent me this other chart? This is funny. That's fine. I got to send a message to someone. Can you hang on one second?
Oh, yeah, no.
Sorry, that message was totally not meant for you. My bad. LOL. I'll hit you back. I'm on a podcast. Sorry about that. Oh, someone just sent me, this was Michael Jackson. Never mind. Someone sent me a chart and I thought it was your chart. I sent back, it's not your chart. Anyway.
Okay.
So I don't even know. How long have you been, when did you first hear about this? A year ago, 4 years ago, long, short?
No, I was 17 when I first found out about this.
No way.
Yeah.
Did you take it in at the time or did it brush over?
No, I did because, well, like I said, my best friend, she really got into it. She's a 3/5 projector. And we have like an insane amount of connectivity, her and I. Like, her name is also Sarah. We've known each other since we were 2. Like, our astrology charts are literally mirrors of each other. It's the most bizarre thing in the world. But she got really, really deep into it, and she was kind of teaching me, you know, she was kind of guiding me through, you know, how I operate and why, you know, her and I worked so well together and why, you know, I was doing a lot of things that I was doing and experiencing that kind of stuff. So yeah, I started to integrate it and stuff, but it's like, you know, I get lost in life, you know, like as you do. And then as I've gotten older and so many things have changed in my life, I've definitely come back to this along with a lot of other stuff. And I'm taking more initiative to take control of the way I operate in my life and not letting everything else and other people dictate. Because that's when I was starting to notice how miserable I was. Like, the depression was terrible. And like, you know, the disappointment. I was just constantly disappointed in everything and everybody, including myself. Like, I was
It robs us of our life force.
Yeah.
Living out our not self themes is a life killer, essentially. Right. Didn't mean to interrupt your flow.
No, but that's, I mean, like I said, I'm coming back a lot harder to this kind of stuff because I'm also trying to escape corporate America. I'm
Get the
done
hell
with,
out. Get out.
Yeah.
Do it again. It's hard.
You know, which actually I kind of want to lead into, you know, the lunar choicing here. So like, I have always been obsessed with the moon, like you said. Yes, you know.
So you were. I was going to ask you, tell me, what has the moon meant to you? I've never met a reflector that didn't have something there.
No joke. You could put me in a windowless building for 2 months and I could tell you almost exactly where the moon phase is every month because of the way I feel and the way my body's reacting. Like, I have synced into the moon so hard. And
so you've taken this part of the experiment seriously. You know where the moon is for you.
Yes.
Yep.
And I have so utilized that in my own life. And now that I've, you know, I've started integrating the way that we operate more and more, I noticed, so kind of the way I do it with my experiment is depending on whatever decision comes and how big it is, whatever phase it's closest to. And they usually come on like the new or the full moons, I've noticed. So
Okay.
what I do is like if something happens to me around the new moon, I take it. I'm like, okay, this is a big deal. I feel it out. It is what it is. And then by the time the or the full moon comes around, I sit down again and really assess, be like, okay, we're halfway. How am I feeling? Is it changed? Is it progressing? Is it feeling any better than before? Is it not? Like, that kind of thing. And then by the time that 28 days or whatever comes around, I've already got my decision pretty much solidified. So I actually just started my own business this last new moon.
Nice.
I got my LLC and everything. So it was like I was able to fully look at the whole thing, and this has actually been in the works for about a year, but it was that jump that I just wasn't sure if I was ready for. And
Right.
by the time it came around, I'm like, yeah, it's here. This is it. Like I could feel the push that this was my decision. And yes, it was correct. And it was time to go.
So let's take at this moment, because this is how we keep assessing truth. Humanity, when it learns this, it'll remember, oh, that's what I did when I was 4.
Yeah.
That's what'll happen. So the kid is always right. I don't know if you heard that comment. It's a little axiom.
Yes.
The child is always correct. So you're moving through, the cycle comes around, you start to see, and then suddenly you notice in your body that you have energy you didn't have.
Yes.
Whatever was depressive before or upsetting, you almost can't even feel that right now, because something else has pulled you into something that is more 4-year-old like, as it relates to being surprised and pleasantly surprised and feeling good. So it's like this keynote in human design. Just does it feel good? That's why it's do what feels good, essentially. People are afraid of that slogan, let me tell you. But there's truth to it, is the thing. So you were going to ask a little bit about just sort of this thing you're doing, and you're still in corporate America, and I imagine what your thing that you're doing on your own has to build up before you can do anything with the corporate job you currently have. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah. I mean, like I have clientele already, like I'm going, but it's like to get the funds to be able to leave that behind. It's going to be, I'm going to say at least a year, if not more.
Good. Yeah. I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so then as you watch the gates fill in on the moon and yourself going through over and over again, you get to like literally fill up some of your hermit time just recognizing, oh my God, we can recognize this. Oh my God, there's science behind it. Oh my God, I can prove it if I have to. Oh my God, right?
Yeah.
That's so cool. Have you read anyone else's design for them, like friends, or said a thing, or?
Yes, I have done my partner, and I have done a couple coworkers and friends that, I've kind of talked a little bit about, and they're like, that sounds really interesting. And I'm like, well, I can do yours right now if all the specifics and stuff.
Right.
So yeah, I have. And it's really interesting.
It's empowering.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times when I read for someone, it's because they want it, and then or they think, or they're close to it, and their jaws drop. When we get into the real good stuff, and it's this amazing thing. So, how familiar are you with your cross?
Not well. I will give you that.
Well, no, it's all good. It's all good. Just for coming on our show and being so cool, if you're willing to shoot Moana or me your number afterwards, dude, and I'll just call you up and I'll do a recorded hour or so, 2 or whatever, and just send it to you on the house.
Okay, yeah.
But tension, it's in the name. When Ra Uru was naming these crosses, he named them. The voice did not name these crosses for him per se at all, really. What they did is give him the information. This was named for our planet Earth at the time. Is really so tension is exactly what the word says, and it's not that you're supposed to go around with tension. It's the beauty part of tension that then turns hard for others. I always use the example of a piano string.
Mm.
We love the piano, right? Guitar, what your instrument, there's got to be tension on those strings.
Yep.
Or you get no tension, the music doesn't play. Other people around get uncomfortable with this tension from time to time, or sometimes incredibly, because part of this cross is a struggler and a fighter and a provocateur and a little freaking, God dang, they're saying something. The person who must confront,
Right.
in a way. Because the fighter needs to come out fighting for the individual purpose. I'm referring to the unconscious side of your design. So that 38 and that 39, they come off of the pressurized root center. So they're delivering an adrenalized punch every time they are, coming out, which is basically always available. And the other always senses it in you. The person that you're with or around, or the people, we're always aware of what the other person's cross is, what their design is. We don't have words for it, and we can't tell, but I'm just saying it's there. That means other people are aware that in your design, there's times when you come out fighting, you come out saying a thing, or they don't know if you're gonna because they don't know you yet, or they don't like it because they wanted something else. You know what I'm saying? And here's this person where 48 on the conscious side and 21, we already know bites through the thing and has an ego willpower to sort of control what 48, its grounding is. I mean, it's 48 is this power that comes in on it. The grounding for you is this sense of how you're going to control a thing and be in charge of a thing, or basically at least be with it as it's being moved along. And 48 says, and I have a solution for all of that. It doesn't mean you're right. It just means right now this is the deal. And so people feel that as a tension, especially with this adrenalized fuel coming out of 39 and 38, that since they're individual, they can't really be influenced. So part of this, half of this design is deaf to the other.
Yeah.
Have you noticed? You just don't even, it's like someone's talking. You tell me you've noticed this. People are talking, and within the first 4 sentences, you're like, oh my God, I'm tuning out and I have to pretend I'm polite and listening. How many times? Yeah. And it's not their fault. It doesn't make them boring. It's not yours yet. You got a different struggle. You got a different thing. And so that itself can seem odd to others at times, but ask me a question if you can about this cross, about yourself within it.
Oh man, I don't know. I mean, it's like,
if nothing, that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't even know what to ask, honestly.
Have you noticed that you feel? I'm just curious about some things. I'll ask you then. Just do you feel the cross's name of tension? Usually it'll be around you. Sometimes it'll be in you.
I really don't know.
All right. Have you noticed it when you in your corporate job? You actually go and sit at a desk or do? Okay. All right.
I do.
Eyes. God, you got to get out, honey.
I know. I will say though, I have learned that my environments, I have figured out that if my environments are miserable, I'm miserable and I'm a rotten human being. So I have actually made my entire space up front. I have like 20 plants around me. I've got all my crystals around my desk. I mean, like I have made it home, which makes it more palpable. So
perfect.
But it's like, I feel like it's almost a shielding in a way. It makes it so that I can get through a day every day.
Right. Exactly. So, I get that. No, that makes good sense. How about this? Well, one more thing just then about tension. The suns and the always are this driving force. The earths receive the sun's driving force and become the grounding. Now, translate that into a human life. The sun is just this, what the sun does to us during the daytime. It's constantly driving in on us. So we count that as like pouring in. And the earth is like, oh, I'm receiving it. I'm going to grow up some plants and make some food and let the earth grows it up. Earth is mother and grows it up. Sun obviously meets the description of father. It's just pouring it in. It's a driving yang force. And so when you put these together, you see this 48 is, I naturally have a solution, because the second line is a natural. They're a little natural. They're suddenly called out into the world to do a thing, and until that calling comes, nothing quite feels right. And so that's why your job, when I noticed when you mentioned the thing, your project you're on, you were more lit up. There's a calling for that. And so
Yeah.
that's the 2-4 is the great missionary, the called individual that can't be stopped, essentially. So that 48 just suddenly second lines are always recognizing that they suddenly recognize something. You know what I mean? We don't know in advance. We don't know. We're in a bubble. The second line bubbles itself. Its whole way out in the world as it relates to any kind of intimacy is shyness before boldness. It's got a shell around it that protects it from others' influence. It says, don't try to influence me. So the individual gates in your cross say, don't try to influence me. The second line says, please don't try to influence me, and I'm going to get away from you if you do. And it's all happens in nanoseconds. These aren't words that you're saying to somebody because, you don't even want to be rude. And again, they're not bad. You got to get out.
I think I may kind of sort of understand your question about the name for the cross. It's
Help
like,
me here, yeah.
it's being unauthentic. For me, it's like it's an unauthentic feeling that is created by the
Other
outside.
things, the outside, so important to you. The outside world, so important to you. Yeah, right. Anything that is perfect. Anything you described a good thing. Anything unauthentic won't fit with 38 and 39.
Yeah, it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel right. It's repulsive in a energetic force way.
Right, and at times to even provoke it doesn't sound fun, because there's other times where you like to provoke things. You're a little button pusher. Is that true?
Oh,
yeah. When
yes,
it
but
comes
it's always
out,
for good intent. It's always for good intent, because it's like I see the good in people, and like I can see how their habits or their tendencies, their chosen bad decisions, like repetitively keeps them from being their best self. And so I like to poke it and be like, hey, did you ever consider that, this and this and this is leading to this exact same cycle you continue to repeat?
And in your corporate job, it only takes a word or two and people get on edge at times. Is that true? Unless you have to be quiet or something. I don't know. But
no, I am a very unique person in that office, in a sense that it's not a bad place to work, but they all never know what's going to come out of me next. And I'm kind of the same way. Like, I never really know, but they actually they listen to me, and they will actually bounce a lot of things off of me. And I'm kind of like, I am the go-to person in the office where if they need to bitch about somebody, I'm the one. And it's usually, like customer related, and it's like they just come to vent and then they leave fine.
Well, one thing that occurs to me to make your corporate job more bearable is, I don't know how you'll do it, and you may have already done this, but position yourself. Usually it's just a change in your vibration towards things. Just position yourself to be the person that reflects back whatever comes in from the other.
Yeah. And I definitely have picked that up more and more as I've gotten older. I've become more of the reflector than the absorber.
Right. Yes.
Because that was my biggest downfall. Like, when I didn't really integrate my experiment, it was like I was just absorbing everything. And it's like I meant to sample and taste everything out and like feel everything out, but it's like I'm not meant to hold on to it. I didn't understand that. So I was like this, like I had so much crap on me and in me that wasn't mine. And then I was like, what am I doing? There's a reason I feel like this. There's a reason that I'm so, I'm so disappointed, is because I was holding on to stuff that just wasn't mine.
Right. That will leave. Yeah.
I had to literally be like, I'm literally a mirror. That's why I'm called a reflector. What am I doing? Why am I absorbing everything? No.
Right. And then so you had to come up with this basic spot. So it's just so amazing. The mechanics inside of human design, mechanics for anyone who's listening, is just the ability to use to see workings inside the body graph that lead to stuff on the surface we can understand and explain to mechanics. So mechanics in your car make the car work. Mechanics in our body graph make us be able to have this understanding and this awareness. I love how the mechanics work so well, and they literally are saving everyone who gets in starts to realize I am different, and these mechanics save me. So you witness, I've absorbed, because you're right. this absorbent aura of yours. It's as strong as the manifestor's aura to repel. It's just that it doesn't repel. So it can hold at bay. It puts people in a little tractor beam so you can sample them. And I've noticed this one thing, by the way, that I can ask. So you're with your partner and you go out into the world. You do something. I was about to say your boyfriend, but I don't want to make any assumptions. Okay, good. So you go out with your boyfriend into the world, and then whatever, someone comes on up to you, guys, hey, blah, blah, blah. Have you noticed someone comes up to you and they start just sort of talking and they sort of lean towards your boyfriend first because they have a sense that you're tractor beaming them with a sample, with your sample machine going. Have you noticed that? It'd be subtle, but you could see it.
Actually, yes. And it's actually a woman, my partner. I actually have two partners. So I mean,
so
you're technically not wrong. So depending on who I'm out with or if I'm with both, they do tend to gravitate towards those two or whoever I'm with, because I know she is a generator. And I'm right. I haven't done his yet, but I'm pretty sure he's a mani-gen.
Okay.
But yeah, the gravitation is towards them. And then it's like, it's not like they're side-eyeing me, but they're like really, really trying to figure me out, and it's not just like, the relationship stigma of it. It's just like, they're like, I'm not sure about this one's energy. Now, if I'm alone, it's completely different. Like people vacuum to me and I'm like,
right.
So, but yes, you're right.
That is funny as hell, because if you think about it, the person walks up. So our aura, it sends out like Wi-Fi, transmits like Wi-Fi, and even faster and more detailed. Everything about our design into the other, and vice versa, immediately. That happens as a mechanic, luckily. So they walk up to you, and they aren't just like basically given a wall if you're a manifestor, or don't forget that manifestor can do the opposite. It can invite them in and offer to impact them, and they can be very attractive to look at right away. You know what I mean? But that's not happening. They're not getting enveloped like, oh, that one's cool. It didn't matter which one I spoke to first. And they're not getting this sense of, oh, I'm with this inviting, penetrating aura that I might want to be here discussing something with. With you, they get the tractor beam held in place. They're seeing that's a mechanic that can be relied upon. Doesn't mean no one will ever talk to you first. That's not the point. It just means you sense it. And now you can stand back and just let it happen. In case ever when you were younger, you would wonder why that took place sometimes. So if you were with a group of friends, you're sitting there aligning the friends more than you would have known when you were little. Yet someone new comes into the group and I can envision, I don't know, you tell me, and suddenly you're not the first go-to of the group. It's because you're holding them at bay. Or was that different when you were younger?
No, now that you mention that.
Yeah, what is this? Let's talk about it.
That's exactly how I remember it. Like, and I never really had like a big group of friends, but yeah, it was usually a trio, sometimes, a duo or whatever, or a quad.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was like, if there was a group of boys running around, I was always the last to get noticed or talked to. Always.
But you weren't. You were the first.
Huh.
Yeah. But they don't know what can they say? They're held in a form of suspense. It's an energetic suspense. They could crash right through that and just start blabbing at you. It's an energetic thing. It's not a real tractor beam. It's not like they can't move past it, but it's an energetic thing. It is the thing. And so really and truly, if you look back over time, I bet you're going to find that many times eyeballs literally went to you first and then moved away quickly.
That's very interesting. I'm definitely.
Or approaches. So eyeballs from far away, 10 feet away, and then suddenly as they approach, the movement so that you can sample would move away. I don't know. This is so subtle. I can't wait to look into this. When are we going to find our scientists that are all accredited at colleges that have measuring devices that can measure stuff and run studies?
Yeah.
We need some of that.
Why are we not doing that?
Why are we not doing that? We need big time ones so that people can see it work out. What else did I want to go into this? Anything about this hermit networker, because it's so profound. We're the ones that bring lots of messages out into the world, because we can't. Remember that the last time you couldn't be stopped? The 2-4, when the mission gets called, when the being is called into a mission, it's so profound. It's like a priest being called, you
Oh, yeah.
know. Yeah, and then your networking capacity becomes like insane, and now every opportunity from the opportunist is followed up, and
Yep.
you just become a force, and it's like, good.
I do. I remember that exact thing.
And this is where you're supposed to be, and your environment and the people, and the more people you end up being able to invite into your circle and be around, generally speaking, is pretty much the way to go.
Yeah.
It's the way to go, and when it feels right, that feeling of being called into your life even more will even go up from there, and it's another mechanic you get to watch. Do I feel this way or not? Your business obviously gives that to you. How about, so we just talked about that aura, that resistant and sampling. How about this existential question that all reflectors have? It's born deep into the genome. It's a mechanic. Okay. So for those of you listening, I think you know the question, who are they? But for those listening that don't know, mechanics are, yes, inside our genome is encoded that our consciousness will be asking an actual question. Doesn't matter what language you're in or what society you're in, the question's still the same. And so, who are they? This genetic mandate for you to witness, what's my milieu? My milieu would be my environment with they in it. It's not an empty environment. It's got the other humans in it.
Sure.
So, but just keynoted with who are they? How does that? Because it's not even just who are you. As soon as there's a couple people, it's who are they as a group.
Right.
But tease that out for me. I don't live that out the same way, obviously.
Oh, man, that's a really good question, because, I mean, the enigma of humanity in and of itself, it's like, as a reflector, seeing all of it and even not all of it, it's like, it's a chaotic conundrum for me, because I think, I don't know, like the self-awareness, I feel like, of humanity as a whole right now is just like very, very mute. Like it's, people are not grounded, they're not in touch. So everything's very chaotic. So for me,
Ain't it the truth?
Yeah. So I think, oh, wow. Okay. I've got to wrangle my thoughts because I've got so many.
Wow.
Yeah. Who are they? They don't know. So it's
Does
like,
that mean you don't know? Maybe.
I think more or less, as a reflector, I have the ability to literally reflect their actions and their projections back to them so that maybe they can do a little self-reflecting themselves to figure out who they are.
I've found all the types that do our various things. I remember one day, Tressa, one of my students, that we were pointing out for projectors, and I was like, I had just gotten to her with this amazing realization that it's not so much that they only guide us, like, oh, all projectors need to go into middle management now. You know what I mean? No, that would be a homogenized thing. What it really is that their presence penetrates us and causes us to try and self-guide.
Yeah.
And question our guidance. And then your reflection comes along and reflects back at us and tells us the same thing. One is sort of starting the guidance process, and the other is evaluating.
The looking,
the evaluation of it. Because the simple penetration of the projector's aura might cause this guidance process, but what am I really evaluating? What am I seeing? And then you come along and show more. So together, God, it sounds like we should, you guys should pair up and walk around and fix places.
I would love that. I would love that. I mean, heck, my best friend and I, like I said, she's one heck of a projector, and it's like, we do and always have worked so well together, and it's like, people change around us, like it's really different. So it's like,
that's actually something you can bottle and sell. I mean, as it relates to doing a thing that might feel also some form of thing to call to you as feeling good, because I don't know what you would market that as, but that's like basic. The kid version of it is, hey, bring these two over. They help make it better.
Like life coaching stuff.
Sure. Now you add on the adult stuff to it, but the kid version, the
Yeah.
truth part is, hey, bring Johnny and Susie. They make it better. That's the 4-year-old
They're
version.
so much fun.
My daughter, when she was very young, I remember I said I need a new slogan for the business, and I was coming up with all these things, leading the charge, and and she's just tell them you're faster and better. Is what she said. We went with it. Yeah.
That's so
Yeah,
funny.
But my point being, from the mouth of the babe, from the child, just tell them you're faster and better. Same thing here. So, who are they? I think we covered that. Then I think we got a sense of it. Really is a big thing, but it's what are you seeing? Does it feel right? And I forgot the other keynote word you used, but it was really good. It was, I don't know if you recall, it was just a really good one.
I don't remember which one I went.
Yeah, it was good. It was yummy. It was yummy. We'll go back and listen. It was perfect in the moment. I can't really think of anything else here to look at. Maybe Moana, come on back on and let's wrap this up. Is there anything else you wanted to say though?
I mean, this was fun. Thank you so much for having me.
Let's do more of certain things or whatever. And by all means, take a moment to what is it that you're planning that you're doing with as it relates to this business of yours you're stepping out into? Tell us a little bit about it, if you don't mind. If you can.
I went into iridology. So
what is that?
So it's the study of the eye. And the eye, I mean, oh my gosh, this is so funny now that I'm talking about it. The eye is your iris is the actual reflection of what's going on in your body, health-wise. So I can read an iris and I can tell you, yeah, you've got inflammation going on in, knees and feet, or, I can be like, your pancreas has got a lot of toxic buildup in it, or your liver is clearly not working the way it's supposed to, so, but with the iridology or iridology, however you want to say it, I'm also going into the holistic healing of it. So I can sit down with my clients and say, okay, this is what I'm seeing, and here's a herbal protocol that I can put you on to help you get better.
Wow.
And I've actually been doing it for a year now with my teacher, mentor, coach, whoever, who ran the class. And I actually don't have green or hazel eyes. I have blue eyes, and I can now see the blue coming through because we're cleaning out the toxicities in my system.
No kidding.
It has blown my mind.
So that's the thing. So the world needs us for profiles, second lines, I'll say it, because one of the things we do, being part of that base binary, the first line and the second line, since the first line is strategically investigating, that's what they do. They're the investigator. We're the ones that sit looking around, and suddenly we're aware of the thing no one else noticed.
Yeah.
But a lot of the times we're also just not part of the other thing. And so the foundation builders are like, what the hell? Get down here and do stuff. What I mean? We're like, we're busy looking for what no one else notices.
Yeah, we're busy out here. Go away.
We're good. Don't worry. We're perfect. And so when a second line feels called, every time I watch a second line being personality or design side, doesn't matter, feel that client, I watch their energy and I see, the child's in charge. The kid's in charge of the energy disbursement, not the adult aspects, just dispersing the energy. I suddenly realized that being, that vessel they walk around in, has made a measurement for me. If they're called into it, what is the thing? Let me see about this. Let me check some other things about it, because every being is making measurements for us. And part of this awareness that's been dulled and stunted inside of our current world right now, and is not where it needs to be.
Yeah.
One of those awarenesses is that quit dismissing everything everyone says, because if you can tell the right energies behind it, then that means they're measuring something. Yeah. Let them measure. They're making a measurement that is like worth seeing. It might not be worth it over time, but it's like totally worth at least looking at, allowing it to be seen.
Yeah.
Just throwing people out into the blue. That's stupid. That's a conspiracy theory. That sounds like, what this one? That's woo woo.
It's woo woo.
If I have to hear that ever again, I swear to God, I'm going to strangle someone. It's like, but Yeah, no, this is actually really good. I really appreciate that. Hopefully, you and your projector friend get out into the world and test that at the soup bar, in the coffee shop, at the next gathering or of
I
things.
totally, yeah, I'm gonna bring this up to her. I told her I
Yeah,
was coming
make
on this
fun, have
podcast.
some
I'm like,
fun
I'm
with
gonna
it.
talk about you.
It's a thing, and it's a service the world needs, and we just don't quite know how to name it yet. That's all. Well, what do you
Yeah.
do for work? Well, I do this great thing. You know,
What is it?
what
Well,
is it? Well, it's perfect, is what it is. It's right.
you just gotta experience it.
Yeah, you got to experience it, but pay up front, please.
Right.
That's funny. So, Moana, are you still there, hon? And we can wrap this up now, I guess. Unless there's anything else that you want to dive into.
I mean, this has been really fulfilling. So it's been a good time.
I'll get don't say it online, I guess, because you wouldn't want to publish it, but I'll get your number and email from Moana, and let's touch base, and I don't know what, but we'll do it from that. Sound good?
I would love that. And yeah, I'll message her on Facebook after she
Awesome.
goes up or whatever.
Yeah, much appreciated. So